Let's check out the QRD Stellar T3. This is another Joy-Con alternative. This is the QRD Stellar T3. Now, this is not just your normal Joy-Con alternative. But before we go over the specs, let's see what we get inside the box, shall we? Now, you get your operations manual, which more on this in a minute. So we get the actual T3 just here, and we get a USB-C charging cable as well, and also a different D-pad. Yes, there is a T5 version as well as the T3, and you're thinking, well, hang on, Andy, what's the difference? Nothing. There is nothing different between the T3 and the T5 other than the colorway. Oh, and the T5 has 8 different color modes on the RGB. This has 7, and that's it. They're exactly the same, even the same price. So yes, the T5 look nicer in my opinion. But yeah, this is the T3 just here, and they look pretty cool. But before we go over everything in detail, as we always do, let's check out the specs. So these are wireless. As you can see, it comes with a centerpiece. Sadly, no USB-C, even though it looks like there should have been. Look at that. Didn't that look like there was meant to be a punch out for a USB-C just there so that you could charge this? No, they didn't do that, so no USB-C charging on the dock plate. But yeah, so these are wireless. They have a 6.5 hour battery life. We've got Hall effect sensing joysticks. We've got an insanely difficult to remove D-pad, which you can then replace with this one instead if you prefer. We've also got 6-axis gyro. We've got mechanical switches. So these actually have mechanical switches similar to the MOBA pads that we've been looking at recently. We also have programmable back paddles as well with macro, turbo, and button swap or button assign to these back paddles. We've got adjustable rumble as well. We also have wake from sleep. So give it a second. There we go. So I'm just gonna assign these. There we are. And now you can see the RGB LEDs as well, which is adjustable. So that's all the specs, but let's just have a look at like the design and the feel and the button layout and all that good stuff. So in terms of design, yeah, they look pretty cool. I mean, they are basically pretty much a very similar version of the Nixie Hyperion Pros just here. You can see they're a bit slimmer, and they are super similar to these and the Doyokis and the bin box and all that kind of stuff. So you can see they probably all get made in the same factory. But regardless, you know, this is slightly different in design. I actually quite like it because it is a bit slimmer, a little bit more tucked in than like the Hyperions or the bin box or whatever. So I do quite like that. The face of the actual Joy-Cons are very similar. We've got like just a standard mattified plastic, but it's not rubberized or anything. It is just plastic, but it seems fine, you know, it seems durable enough. But on the back, this is where it changes compared to all of those other companies that I've just mentioned. The back is different. So we've actually got a really nice rubbered texture here. Now you can see it's probably going to mark quite quickly. That's my nail there, just scratching the back of it. But it feels really nice. We also have oversized back paddles as well compared to some of those other companies as well, but this rubber texture means a lot to me. Like, it's nice. The one downside by this change of back plate compared to the others is removing them is really difficult. They've made this button like ridiculously tight into the trigger, and it makes it really hard to push. I don't know why they've done that. Like, okay, cool, but you know, the ergonomics are quite nice. I definitely like this rubber piece a lot. Like, it feels really, really nice. But yeah, so design-wise, very similar to all of those other ones. Yeah, okay, the D-pad like layout and design is slightly different, but pretty much everything else is the same. We've got screenshot, we've got home, we've got turbo for each side, we've got plus, minus, joysticks, face buttons, and just in case you want to see the face button font, this is what they've used. So slightly different. It's not transparent or anything like that. Got standard sort of triggers and bumpers as well, and on the back again we've got macro, rumble adjustment. So in comparison to the Joy-Cons, yeah, really nice. Like, really, really good ergonomics in comparison. Again, look at the Joy-Cons. I always bang on about how like non-ergonomic the actual Joy-Cons are. They're just flat, straight up and down, no comfort grips. And the right stick placement is horrendous because, again, you've got to like claw hand it or really loosely grip this to be able to like get there. If you held it like this, well, the joystick should be over here, right? That's what it's like on, say, an Xbox controller, but it's not here. You'd have to like really claw grip it. Whereas with this one, look how wide it is and how far this horn comes out. If I grip it, my thumb naturally just sits there. And that's great. And the same with this big bit that sticks out here. The back sort of horn is all nice and curved in comparison to just straight up and down Joy-Cons. So yeah, ergonomically, these are really nice independently, just on their own, or even if you want to use them as like an actual controller with this centerpiece. Again, I don't like that they haven't gone with the USB-C. I actually think that all Joy-Con alternatives now should have that USB-C capable centerpiece. But I did forget to mention we still have USB-Cs on the actual controllers. I personally don't like that, but you know, it is for firmware updates and stuff, but aesthetically I just don't like it. You know, there's risk of breaking them. Why are you gonna charge them independently like that? Like, you're not gonna, like, just slide them on the switch and charge a switch up and these will charge. Putting them on the switch though, all you need to do is slide down. They slide on very easily, just like so. So just slide on, there's no resistance or anything. So it's just on like that. Now with mine, there's a fair bit of wiggle going on there. I'm not sure how well you'll see that, but there's a lot of wiggle on the rails. It could be switch dependent, but for me, I'd say it was more so Joy-Con dependent. Really depends on like how they've made that rail on the Joy-Con. Because for example, the MOBA pads just here, these lock in and they are super tight on and they do not move whatsoever. Whereas these, you know, they're wiggling. But once they're on the switch, you know, ergonomic, you know, like massively ergonomic in comparison to these, like the straight up and down. Does make it a lot wider, of course, but that's to be expected. So if you've got like large or medium sized hands, this is actually really comfortable. Again, your hands are in contact with this back piece, which is rubber. I like that a lot. Like, it feels a lot nicer than, say, the straight up plastic of the Nixies or the Binbox or the Doyokis or whatever, you know? Like, it just feels nicer with that rubber texture. So big props to them for that. And I do quite like that slightly tucked in, more like pointed arrow design. For my hands, it works nicely. But before we go over testing all the buttons and all the feel and all that good stuff, let's just go over the RGB, shall we? Because in the manual, they have got a manual for a different controller, I imagine, because they're lying to you. This doesn't work. Now again, I've already said these are pretty much the same as everyone else's, so I already know the button inputs, but what they're telling you in the manual doesn't actually work because they're saying you can change the face button colors by pressing the turbo button 3 times. Press the T button on the right handle 3 times to adjust the ABXY mode. There are 3 modes in total. Press the T key 3 times for the first time, turns it on to light. Press it 3 more times, second times, turns to breathing. Press 3 more times for the third time, turns off. Ready? This is the T button right here. 1, 2, 3. Great. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, this is working really well. 1, 2, 3. Done. Right, let's just try it a bit slower. 1, 2, 3. No. Try it really quick. 1, 2, 3. No. So that don't work. And I've tried every button combination I could think of, and you cannot independently change the face buttons like they're saying. But what you can do is change the side panel, just like the other ones we've seen in the past. So to actually change these, what you want to do is press the T button and then press the stick in like so. Oh look, now it's changed color. So press, and there we go. It looks pretty cool, you know? You've got on the side and on the front just there, and you've also got different like modes. So if you press T and then double click the stick in, oh look, now we're in breathing mode. And I'm pretty sure that just cycles around, yeah, the different colors just there. And then if you press T and click it in again, oh look, now it's off. T and press it once, and then again, that's going to cycle round those colors. But that's not all. We can change the side as well. And this isn't even in the manual. They don't even tell you how to do this. But I'm going to tell you how to do this because I've tested loads of these before. So what we need to do is press T and then the plus button. And oh look, now the side and bottom has changed, you know, compared to the front. So T and the plus button, and you can double click the plus button. So hold T, double click the plus, and then that's actually going to like set this into a breathe and stuff like that. So that is going to slowly breathe in and out of different colors as you're seeing here. So that's kind of annoying. I I expect manuals to be correct. But anyway, let's go over the feel of the buttons. The face buttons and the triggers and bumpers have mechanical switches. Now, they don't tell you what brand mechanical switches, but all the same, mechanical switches are excellent. So mechanical switches, if you don't know, are very quick to actuate. So they're super fast responding. They return really quickly. They're very, very, very quick. Mechanical switches are what I've found in gaming mice, right? Well, just all mice really. And that is because it actually is a mechanism that goes and touches a button as opposed to a piece of rubber that compresses. Those rubber membrane buttons have like a 1 million sort of click lifespan on controllers, whereas a mechanical, you're looking at about a 5 million click lifespan out of even cheap mechanical switches. So you're getting 5 times the life as opposed to like standard buttons. And I really like them. And that's found on all of this as well. You've got the triggers on the shoulder buttons as well. So all of these have mechanical switches. The only downside for some people, if you've got like sensory issues with sound, is they are clicky. So just quickly to compare against the Nixie Hyperion Pro, right? This does not have mechanical switches, and you're gonna hear now. That's what their face buttons sound like. Whereas let's have a go on these. That's what mechanical switches sound like. So it could be annoying for some of you. Personally, I much prefer having mechanical switches because they're way quicker, they're more accurate, they're just better. Oh, and whilst we're here, this does rattle. And that's pretty much the triggers and the bumpers just floating around just there. So a kind of a downside for me on that point. But the mechanical switches are nice. On the face buttons, they are all consistent. They sound more clicky on the triggers and the bumpers as well. But there's no pre or post travel on these. They're nice, you know, they are nice. Quite like them. I'm always a big fan of mechanical switches when, you know, they can have them. So big props to them for that. And again, the triggers, a bit of post travel, you know, so click and then it can keep going down afterwards. Not really any pre-travel, so it actuates instantly, and then there's a bit of post travel. The bumpers, yeah, nah, that's pretty good. Tiny bit of post travel, you know, but almost. Actually, no, I'd say there's not. No, let's just say there's none. And they actuate all the way across, right top, bottom as well. Like that's nice, good, like it. Now let's take a look at the D-pad. So the D-pad just here, not really a fan of this kind of thin design. It's a little bit like scratchy on your thumb, and I don't know why they've put like a lip around it as well. I suppose for that other dome dish thing. But yeah, so it's all right, feels okay. It's not the worst I've felt for sure, but it does, if I press down and then rock it left and right, because it's an 8-way D-pad, it is inputting left and right as well. So yeah, that's something to take note of, but we can remove this. It's just really hard, and I've got nails as well, and even I struggle to get this off. So I definitely do not advise doing what I've just done, which is using a knife to do this. I'm just impatient because I'm trying to film this video and I don't want to spend 15 minutes trying to change the D-pad. So yeah, use adult supervision if you are, you know, underage. Do not use a knife like I've just done. But once you've got this off, like so, you can now swap it for the other one, the dome dish, and you can see it only goes on one way. There's like a little T there, so it is keyed, which means you need to line up the T facing towards you, push it down, and now we've got this dome style one. I actually think I prefer the other one. I mean, that looks cooler, like that looks nicer, but I don't know, for fighting games, yeah, because you're going to be able to roll around, but it's just quite mushy. Meh. For general use, I'd probably stick with that. We've also got the big back paddles on the back, and yeah, I quite like the oversized, you know, feel of them. You're definitely not going to miss them, and they're in a good location as well. If I like rest my hands, it's my middle fingers hitting them, and I prefer that. Some of them are like down on your like ring finger. I think it was these. Yeah, like the Hyperion Pros. Like, what's with that? Like, really low back paddle buttons. Don't know why, but okay. So these are nice and they're fine, you know. So whilst we're here, let's go over all their features. So I'm going to assign B to this back paddle. So what I've got to do, it's a bit of annoyance, but I've got to press the M button just here and then press B, and then let go. And now I've assigned B, which is jump for Sargon here, to that back pedal. And what I really like about this is actually a true button swap, because if I hold it, he's going to jump high. If I tap it, he's going to do a short jump. So this actually acts like the full button. And I always bang on about this in all my Joy-Con reviews and controller reviews, because some controllers don't let you do this. And what I also like is that you can actually set turbo to the back pedal. So I'm going to use that as an example. So turbo, just if you don't know, it presses that button for you. So I'm going to press T and then the back pedal, and now he's just going for it by himself. I didn't think that was meant to happen. Let's try turbo on B. When I hold the button, it should be doing turbo for me, and then when I let go, it should stop. If I press turbo and B again, now he's going to do it without me having to hold it. And if I press B, it should pause it. If I press B again, it should go through again now. And if I press turbo and B again, it will just cancel turbo out entirely, so we got a normal button again. However, it seems like if I set turbo to the back pedal, it's just always on. But if I press turbo and back pedal again, now it's just taking it off. So turbo acts differently to the back pedal. That's really weird, because I don't remember that happening when I tested it before. So on top of button swap and turbo, we also have macro as well. So what I'm going to do is just clear this back pedal by pressing the macro button and letting go. And now that back pedal is nothing, right? So a macro is a record of inputs. So you can record a series of inputs and save it to that back pedal, and then even turbo it if you want to, so it just keeps going and going and going whilst the switch is on, yeah? So let's show you how to do that. Annoyingly, again, you have to press the macro button at the same time. So I'm gonna press the macro button, I'm gonna jump, 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 and then maybe like hit, right? And let go. I'm gonna just go over here because Sargon moves when he hits. So I'm gonna press that back pedal, and now he's gonna do that series of inputs for me, and there we go. If I assign turbo and then do that back pedal, it's now going to just keep doing it for me. There you go, look, he's just going and going and going and going, and to cancel it entirely, you press M and then that back pedal, or just tap M, and that will just clear that back pedal. So it does have adjustable rumble as well. This does not have an HD rumble or anything like that. It's just like normal rumble, but they've given you buttons on the back like other ones we've seen in the past that let you change the intensity. So it's like 0, 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%, I think. So you just press this and then it goes around. So the left side for me is more intense. It's got a different sound as well. They're not equal, and that's kind of annoying. The left side's a bit more and rattly, and the right side's a little bit lower in pitch and a little bit lower in like intensity. I don't know if that's just my unit or if how it is overall, but yeah. For me, I'd put them probably on about 25% because they can get loud and it is a little bit annoying, but I like to have a bit of rumble there, but of course you can turn it off and that will save battery life. And then finally, we've got Hall effect sensing joysticks. So yes, these are using magnets instead of contact, and you're way less likely, if never, to get drift. So these are anti-drift joysticks. They're also way more accurate than potentiometer sticks as well. So these are really good. You know, they seem decent enough. I'm not too sure what modules they're using. I haven't opened these up or anything, but yeah, they seem nice. I haven't had any issue with any sort of dead zone or anything like that with these, and they're fairly decent. So price-wise, these come in at about $60. Now that's fairly steep when you consider what else is on the market. Like, you know, maybe these? Just saying. And I'm actually going to do a comparison against these, the QRD T3s, against the Mobipad M6S, because these are more similar, you know, in terms of spec. So if you want to see my comparison, make sure you subscribe. But yeah, I mean, overall, these are okay. I don't think I would pay $60 for them. And yeah, like, I would say if they were like $45, if you can get them on a sale or something, that's way more acceptable. I would say personally, maybe even $40, but they're decent. You know, they are still, if you're looking for better ergonomics than a standard Joy-Con and you want some extra features like macro, the assignable back paddles, Hall effect sensing joysticks, and mechanical switches, then that's great. And I think these are really good. They are a good option, but I just think there might be better out there. So stick around if you want to see a comparison. comparison. But what do you think about the QRD T3s or even the T5s? Again, I think the T5s look super cool. They're the same price. They're exactly the same in terms of spec and everything. But yeah, I haven't got those to show you, unfortunately. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Whilst you're down there, like this video, subscribe, and of course, memberships are open. So all tier memberships get to see our videos early. If you want to support the channel, then you can see these videos up to a week early if you're impatient. And of course, check out mine and AJ's podcast over here where we talk about all things gaming, and then check out another video from me down here. Don't forget, I'm going to be doing that comparison soon, so stick around.